Hi, folks. This is Don Meissner with the North Country Fishing Report. You know, one of the I think really important things that I haven't shared with you much, and that's about the role that stress plays not only on us. We're all very much aware of what stress can do, but it can do the same thing to animals and to fish. Fish are no different than animals. And it recently really became sort of apparent to me. I was watching this show about game wardens up in New Hampshire, of all things, and they were stocking some of the remote ponds that you can't get to by roads, and they would put the fish from the hatchery into tanks that were in a helicopter and then transport those fish by air and dump them into the water. The helicopter would come down low and they could be stocked. But there were so many things that they had to be aware of and to take into consideration. And those were things about stressing the fish. A sudden change in water temperature not only can affect their equilibrium and everything else, but it can stress them. So it's important that the water temperature in the tanks that they took them from the hatchery wasn't that much different than the water that they were going to put them in. So they had to sort of adjust those temperatures, either by first putting a bucket of the new stream or lake water in with the tank to balance that temperature out so that it didn't suddenly change. The other thing is when they're taken from their environment, and I don't care whether this is hatchery fish or whether these are fish that you're catching and hooking and bringing in. Once you put them into a different situation, like take them from their tank and put them into some kind of a different container, they're going to become stressed and their activity is going to change. Their heartbeats, everything are going to change. And it's the same thing when we hook a fish and the battle that it goes through. We're not just talking about bringing a fish up from deep water to shallow water. We're talking about now this fish is fighting. It's fighting for its life. And all the stress factors that enter in with us enter into the fish. And so if we can keep that battle as short as possible by using, I guess, heavier tackle, goes against everything that I ever loved in fishing. But my love was based on me more than the welfare of the fish. As I've got older, I've come to realize that we have to love our fish as well. And so by bringing them in as quickly as possible, and then the way we handle them is so critical, whether we stress them even more. We squeeze them or we do whatever, we don't realize that's doing the same thing it would do to us if some monster were holding us and doing the same thing. So it really is critical that we be aware of these things. And each fish has a different tolerance level. You know, some fish seem to be tougher. Doesn't mean that they're stronger. Doesn't mean that they have a more acrobatic fight, but they seem to be more durable because in their ways of dealing with stress. A muskie, a fish that we think is the king of all fresh water, formidable, nothing endangers it except itself. But man endangers it because as soon as that muskie fights for his life, it gives off so much lactic acid because of the stress it's going through that a lot of times we think, oh, it's swimming wonderfully back. Well, it's swimming back in the whole way it's fighting to stay alive because it's just gone through so much stress. My point is that everything around us, every animal, everything goes through stress when you upset the equilibrium of its environment. And that's what happens to fish as well. And don't think that they don't feel pain. They feel all the things that we do, including the horribleness of sudden pain. Until next time, folks, this is Don Meissner with the North Country Fishing Report.